Um, I think a commissioned position is very different than what we are discussing today.
Representative Omar, I mentioned the fact that it's not just limited to commission. It's also for anybody that is demoted. So you can be in a regular job, not part of a commission situation, but if you're failing to perform, you'll get demoted and then you get a pay cut with it. So I just want to make sure that that's clear. So I know Representative O'Neill has that experience having owned a business, and so I think she was speaking to that.
That is a ridiculous question, and
Yes or no?
No.
I will.
Sorry, Mr.
I will
Chairman,
take that as a yes.
I am not going to respond to that kind of personal attack.
What's going on, patriots? Welcome back. I've seen my fair share of awkward moments inside the halls of Congress, but what you're about to watch takes cluelessness to a whole new level. Representative Ilhan Omar steps up convinced she's about to deliver a MIC drop moment, and instead she delivers pure second-hand embarrassment. First, she tries to lecture Elliott Abrams, a man with decades of foreign policy experience, as if he just wandered in off the street. This is someone who's forgotten more about international affairs than she's ever learned, and yet she's attempting to play moral referee. Then it somehow gets worse. She pivots to lecturing business owners about how to pay their employees despite having zero experience running a business, managing payroll, or taking real-world risks. The confidence with which she speaks, paired with the lack of substance behind it, is honestly impressive. You've got a sitting member of Congress, someone who's faced repeated controversies of her own, positioning herself as the ultimate authority on ethics and integrity. The disconnect is staggering. She's not exposing corruption here, she's exposing how unprepared she is for the room she's in. So let's jump into the first clip, where she tries to pull a gotcha on Abrams, and ends up sounding like a middle school debater who didn't read the assignment.
Mr. Adams, in 1991, you pleaded guilty to 2 counts of withholding information from Congress regarding your involvement in the Iran-Contra affair, for which you were later pardoned by President George H.W. Bush. I fail to understand why members of this committee or the American people should find any testimony that you give today to be truthful.
If I can respond to that.
It wasn't a question.
That
was not a question. I reserve the right to my time.
It is not right.
That was not a question.
Committee can attack
On February 8th,
who is not permitted to reply.
That was not a question. Thank you for your participation. On February 8th, 1982, you testified before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee about U.S. policy in El Salvador. In that hearing, you dismissed as communist propaganda report about the massacre of El Mozote, in which more than 800 civilians, including children as young as 2 years old, were brutally murdered by U.S. trained troops. During that massacre, some of those troops bragged about raping a 12-year-old girl before they killed them. Girls before they killed them. You later said that the U.S. policy in El Salvador was a fabulous achievement. Yes or no, do you still think so?
From the day that President Duarte was elected in a free election to this day, El Salvador has been a democracy. That's a fabulous achievement.
Yes or no, do you think that massacre was a fabulous achievement that happened under our watch?
That is a ridiculous question, and
yes or no?
No.
I will take that as a yes.
I am not going to respond to that kind of personal attack, which is not a question.
Yes or no, would you support an armed faction within Venezuela that engages in war crimes, crimes against humanity or genocide, if you believe they were serving U.S. interests, as you did in Guatemala, El Salvador, and Nicaragua?
I am not going to respond to that question. I'm sorry. I don't think this entire line of questioning is meant to be real questions, and so I will not reply.
Whether under your watch, a genocide will take place, and you will look the other way because American interests were being upheld, is a fair question, because the American people want to know that anytime we engage a country, that we think about what our actions could be and how we believe our values are being furthered. That is my question. Will you make sure that human rights are not violated and that we uphold international and human rights?
I suppose there is a question in there, and the answer is that the entire thrust of American policy in Venezuela is to support the Venezuelan people's effort to restore democracy to their country. That's our policy.
I don't think anybody disputes that. The question I had for you is that does the interest of the United States include protecting human rights and include protecting people against genocide?
That is always the position of
Wow. Did you catch that? She drags up events from 35 years ago, cases that were settled, reviewed, and pardoned just to try and discredit current US policy on Venezuela. That's not oversight. That's a smear. Elliot Abrams is sitting there like, are you actually serious right now? And notice something important, she never wanted an answer. She throws out the question, he starts explaining the nuance of a brutal and complicated civil war from the 1980s, and she immediately cuts him off. Because it was never a question, it was a monologue. So what's the point of being there, Ilhan? If the goal is just to hear yourself talk, start a podcast. Don't waste taxpayers' time during a hearing that's supposed to be about helping the people of Venezuela. Abrams, to his credit, handles it with total professionalism. He calmly calls out how absurd her hypothetical framing is. He knows exactly what's going on. She's not there for answers, context, or solutions, she's there for a viral clip. But don't worry, it gets better, or worse, depending on how much you value your remaining brain cells. In the next clip, she abandons foreign policy where she just face-planted and pivots to labor law. She asks a business owner why anyone would ever decrease an employee's pay. Seriously. As if economic downturns, market forces, or business survival have never existed. This is where theory meets reality and reality wins. Let's watch the lesson happen in real time.
I was a union member for a long time, and I've also gotten an opportunity to work in the private sector. And I'm curious to know if you know of any employer that has a provision where they decrease pay for employees. I find that a little strange, and so I just wanted to know where that thought comes from, and if you know where an employee gets their pay decreased.
Representative O'Neill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I was a business owner. I recently sold my share, so I don't own it anymore, but there are plenty of businesses out there, especially those that depend on employees' productivity, like I was in the trades. So I owned a company that was a tile setting company, and if we didn't get out there and do the work, and if I didn't have highly productive employees, they were paid based on their productivity. So if they had issues, it is very possible that their pay would reflect those issues. If they were on probation for something, for some sort of violation, that could be coordinated with a pay reduction. It's something that businesses do all the time, and it could be the step before someone is actually fired. So it's an important thing, and it gets people's attention, when they see it in their paycheck that their performance does not meet the standard.
Representative Omar.
Hudson, I think did you have something?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Hudson. Was there a question for Mr. Hudson?
No, I think he was saying that he wanted to add something, so I didn't know if he had something to add.
Mr. Hudson, is there a response to the question? Do you have a response to that question?
Madam Chair, yes,
Are you
ma'am.
saying that you aren't aware of any businesses that decrease pay?
Because that was the question.
Madam Chair, I think what Chair O'Neill perhaps could be referring to, there are some instances where the pay structure is different. So for an example, she'd indicated that she had come out of the towel industry. I'm not sure if these were commissioned employees who may have been on like an 80-20 split. In that instance, there is a situation where a pay might be reduced. Or if we have a supervisor who perhaps had a performance improvement issue or a behavioral concern, and we demoted this supervisor, that is an instance where pay might be decreased. But just an employee who has not been under some sort of performance improvement program, having their pay reduced, I've never heard of that.
Well, Mr. Hudson, I think Representative Neal knows exactly what she says. And I think we've had a little conversation back here when the question was asked. I know Representative Uglum, do you want to speak to that point?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Omar, if you happen to be a salesman in this world, and you could be selling cars, you could be selling siding, you could be selling just about anything, and you are paid on commission. So if you don't sell anything, you don't make anything. So you can have good years, you can have bad years. Probably really one of the best examples is a real estate agent. So it's the idea that people can make less money year to year, not to mention all the bonus situations that are out there in industry. It happens. It happens a lot. It doesn't necessarily happen, here in the public sector, but it's pervasive and very, very common in the private sector. Thank you.
And I'd like to add that in the private sector as well, people, if they are not performing at their job, get demoted, and with that demotion comes a pay cut. And that's not even related to being in a commission position, that's just in a regular position as well. Representative Omar.
I think a commissioned position is very different than what we are discussing today.
Representative Omar, I mentioned the fact that it's not just limited to commission. It's also for anybody that is demoted. So you can be in a regular job, not part of a commission situation, but if you're failing to perform, you'll get demoted. And then
Guys, I'm genuinely embarrassed for her. Did you see the looks on those business owners' faces? They had to explain to a sitting member of Congress how commission works. As in, if you don't sell anything, you don't make as much money. Revolutionary stuff. Apparently they had to explain that if you're demoted because you're bad at your job, your paycheck changes. That's not exploitation, that's economics 101. This is basic, real-world logic. And she's sitting there with that smug expression like she's just uncovered some massive corporate conspiracy. No, Ilhan. It's called merit. It's called the private sector. It's how life works outside the warm embrace of government dependency. Then she tries to backpedal with, oh, well, commission is different. No, it's not. The principle is exactly the same. You're paid based on the value you provide. Provide less value, earn less money. That's reality. The fact that this concept seems foreign to her tells you everything you need to know about her worldview. Everyone gets a trophy. Everyone gets a paycheck. Effort optional. Bottom line, Ilhan Omar is completely out of her depth. Whether it's decades of foreign policy or the basic mechanics of a tile-setting business, she repeatedly proves she's more interested in being a squad celebrity than a serious legislator. Elliot Abrams and those business owners didn't just answer her questions, they exposed why she had no business asking them in the first place. But hey, that's just my take. What do you think? Is she the most out-of-touch person in Washington, or is the competition just that fierce? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you're done tolerating the nonsense.